So, first of all, we have here the Emperor in the reverse position. Sometime this month, you're going to be put in a position where you're dealing with this person. This is an authority figure. This can be a boss, employee, or somebody that, wears the pants in the relationship. So it could be whatever gender. But this is a bit of a rough around the edges, harsh, and somebody who is very difficult, okay? So I feel like, negotiations are coming at a standstill when you're dealing with this person. If they are a boss and you're asking for some time off for, whatever reason, if you're planning to go on a cruise, if you're planning to take a vacation, if you're planning to, spend some time with family, traveling, and having to attend some type of significant event, function, I feel that you're going to butt heads with this person because they're not going to make it easy for you. So I feel that is really, really important. If it's a professional, in a professional setting, be careful that you don't say things that might be deemed unprofessional. So be careful about how you navigate this energy because this is somebody who is on a power trip, okay? They like to have that sense of like they're on top. They like to have the sense of obedience from whoever it is. So what you're going to have to do is rather than being combative, this is not a situation that you want to find yourself in because they wield a lot of power. So rather than being combative, I feel that you're going to have to, coax them gently by letting them know this is also in your best interest if you let me do this, etc. This is not you. This is not, stereotypically, this is not something that you do because with you, Leos, you're very straightforward. You're very direct. And you don't like it. I feel like one of the major pet peeves of yours is if somebody abuses power, okay? So I feel that this is a really difficult person that you've been possibly dealing with for quite some time. And no matter what they say, I feel like you're always going to end up doing your own thing. But just in the spirit of growth and in the spirit of, learning to navigate the energies of other people so that we can create a more harmonious environment. I feel that it is really important for you to negotiate. Okay, so rather than being combative, I feel that you're going to have to persuade, you're going to have to use those soft skills in order to get the other person to get on board with you. And that means, being a little bit more compromising, being a little bit sweeter, being a little bit more like, I guess, accommodating to that person, okay? And it's going to be difficult for you, but I feel that in the long run, it's going to work itself out, okay? So I hope that you take, what I say to heart, because confronting this type of person, they are incredibly defensive. And when they feel threatened, when they feel like their power is diminished, and then when they feel threatened by their environment, they're going to lash out. And when they lash out, it's going to be very frightening. Not that you're afraid of conflict, not that you're afraid to stand up for yourself. You always are really good at standing up for yourself. You're always good at standing up for others as well. So I feel like that's not the problem. I just feel like you need to pick your battles, okay? Because you might be getting over your head, and then it might lead to a situation where you might even be separated from that work environment. So just be very careful about where we are throwing our energy and to whom it is directed, because I feel like there's something here about obeying hierarchy. There's something here about, seniority. And I feel that we need to follow rules, okay? So as angry as you are, as upset as you are, and as unfair and unjust as this person might be, it's in your best interest to, fight smart. Okay, so this is a situation that I feel has been troubling you for quite some time. I honestly feel for some of you, this might be like an in-law, okay? Like a battle of wills with some in-laws, and I feel like they're invading your privacy. They're telling you what you should or should not do with your free time. And they're telling you like how to raise children as well. And so I feel like once again, it's family, right? It's people that we are going to have to live with. So it's people that we're stuck with. So whether or not it's a boss, whether or not it's a family member, like a parent, there's a right way to handle it and there's a wrong way. And I do want the best outcome for you. So I do want you to be very smart and methodical about how you handle the situation. Okay, so you can, like, tell them, okay, I'll do that. I'll consider it. I guess the smart way is not to say yes or no, but say, I'll take that into consideration. Okay, and when you say that to them, yes, they can get mad over it, but honestly, they can't get mad at you because you already gave them an answer, and you've given them an answer that will allow you a lot of leeway. So I feel like, if something, if you feel like you can't make a decision, or if you feel like you're cornered, just say, you know what, I'll consider it, and then, move away. Okay, because I feel like that's probably the smarter way to handle this energy. It's a little bit combative, and I don't want this to, happen where you might say things that you regret, or you might, like, pick a fight that you cannot win and suffer, disappointment as a result of it. Okay, so just something to keep in mind about. Um, I'm also feeling here, when we have this card, this is your card. This is the card of Leo. When it shows up in the reverse position, it can also indicate a situation where we need to stand up for ourselves. So I feel like, this authority figure might be a different situation altogether. And I feel like with this card, speaking up for ourselves, learning to defend ourselves, learning to speak our truth, and stating our truth, I feel like some of you might be in a situation where you want things to be a specific way, where you want, like, to make a decision, but your decisions are kind of like linked up with other people. And you're pretty much a really good team player. And so when what you want and what the team wants, or what your partner wants, is different from you, it's really hard for you to just selfishly say, but I want to do this. I just want to, have this done. And so I feel like there has been a lot of compromise in partnerships, especially in the past. And it's really important for you to tell your partner that, you know what, this is not going to work. So if we continue down this route where I have to make all these sacrifices, it's not right and it's not fair. So I feel like, justice, this sense of, like, both parties need to be on board. Okay, both parties need to, like, pull their weight. So if you look at this card, the horses, okay, the ones pulling the chariot, they both need to move in the same direction. They need to pull in tandem. They need to exert the same amount of force. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. So I feel like this is a situation where you feel like somebody is not doing you justice. Somebody is expecting you to do all the work. They're slacking off. And, they have all this leisure time, and they have all these other activities that they're engaged in. So they're not pulling their fair share of the weight. And it's not fair to you. And I feel like this is the month in which you need to rectify those imbalances, because I feel like moving forward, it's going to create quite a bit of discord in that interpersonal relationship. And I feel for a lot of you, it might be a relationship, like love relationship, okay, where you really care about this person, but they're not pulling their fair share, or like they're so wrapped up in themselves that they don't see all the things that you're doing. So an example that comes to mind is, let's say you're a woman and you're married to a man, right? Like a heterosexual woman. And so you go to work, and then you come home and you're doing all the housework, and your partner also goes to work, and he gets home and everything is already prepared. You've got the food laid out, and you're taking care of the kids. You're doing, like, mentorship with the kids to help them with homework, for example. And over time, it's almost like a very gendered, like, division of labor. And I feel like over time, one day you're sick, right? And you can't do the cooking, and you can't take care of the kids. And then your partner comes to expect it. And while you're sitting there, with the flu, or when you're sick, the other person is not being understanding. So it's really important to address these things up front, rather than waiting to the last minute, and that's when you get upset. So I feel like it's really important to, imbalances in relationships, all kinds of relationships, need to be addressed up front, so that resentment doesn't build up, so that expectations are not solidified, and so that two people can have, a clear discourse about, what do I expect from you and what do you expect from me? Because I feel like there's a lot of things here that you're letting slide. And in the process of letting them slide, they can build up into, difficulties later on. Okay, so I feel like a lot of important discussions need to be had in relationships. Okay, what I'm also feeling as well is I feel like some of you are living with in-laws, living with parents, and you might like so you might be like in a relationship with you might be married, living with in-laws for whatever reason. You might be married, living with your own family, and you want to move away from by yourself. You want to, have create the home for yourself, and you don't know how to approach this topic about, moving away from the in-laws with your significant other, and likewise, your significant other feels a little bit cramped in the living environment, and they don't know how to approach the topic about how do we, get our own space. And I feel like it's a practical decision living with family members. I feel like your income, your money is accumulating, because of savings, because everybody's chipping in. You don't have to pay the rent on your own. But at the same time, emotionally, I feel like it's difficult for you and your partner to have alone time. It's difficult for you to be independent. Okay, so I feel like that's the situation here. I'm also feeling for some of you, there might have been they mentioned something, so I think of this as like exam taking. Okay, there might have been a situation where you're either in school, or you either took like a very, very big exam. So it could be, for licensing issues, it could be with the state, could be with the government, it could be some type of a proficiency test. And I feel that you're beating yourself up over it because you feel like you didn't do the best to your capabilities, or you feel like you should have spent some more time studying. Lesson learned. So either way, move away from it and, try to do it better next time. So I feel like some of you might need to retake some type of exam, or might need to, talk to your professor, talk to your teacher about your performance and whether or not you can retake it, or whether or not you can do something to make up the grade. So I feel like that's something coming through as well. What I'm also feeling is when I mentioned, having a very solid, stable, like very solid, very hashed out conversations with an older lover, that still applies. And I'm going to go into your love reading in a little bit, but I feel like there needs to be a consensus about where things are headed, okay? Because it feels to me like this: afraid to speak up for yourself, afraid to really, advocate for the things that you want. And as a result, you feel a little bit stuck. You feel like you and the other person are like drifting apart. And so moving forward, really talking about things, okay? Even though it might like bring up things from the past that we're not happy with, or things from the past that we might have just wanted to sweep under the rug. I feel like it's going to happen. It's going to be good for you, so that you both can finally agree. If you agree to move forward in a specific, manner, or agree to disagree and then not talk about things again, that's fine. But at least you can move away and not have to deal with a conflictual situation. Okay? I do feel like housing moves happening for some of you, and I do feel like you're in the preliminary stages. You might have difficulties agreeing with another person if you're living with them, what to do with the house, where to live, geographically where you need to be. But I do feel that it's going to be resolved, okay? The month of June, honestly, I feel like things are going to soften up. The energy will start to soften up for you.